On her wedding day, the princess was cruelly cast into an abyss by her prince. Beneath the abyss lay the dragon's lair. Awakening, the princess was puzzled by the prince's betrayal until she noticed scattered symbols on the ground. It dawned on her that she had been sacrificed to the dragon. As she pondered this, a burst of flame erupted from the dragon's mouth. Instinctively, she fled into a cave. Believing she had escaped the fatal attack, she turned a corner to find a charred corpse. Terror seized her. In her panic, she tried to evade another wave of flames, but her skirt caught on a crevice. Facing imminent death, she struggled desperately. Just as the flames were about to consume her, she managed to free herself, but her left foot was badly burned. The searing pain nearly made her faint. Ignoring the agony, she pulled out a dagger and tore a piece of her skirt to bandage the wound. Taking a flame-resistant lantern, she used it to light her way. She crawled into a dark, narrow cave, hoping to find an exit, but she slipped into a small crack and became stuck. Despair overwhelmed the princess, and she struggled violently. Luckily, the crevice was wide enough. As she struggled, she fell from above. Unfortunately, the lantern had gone out, and the place was fraught with danger. She could only feel her way forward. Luckily, there were glowing stones deep in the cave, which stopped her in her tracks. The sight before her chilled her to the bone. If she fell, she would be dead. Terrified, she collapsed to the ground. However, she wasn't ready to give up. After a brief rest, she discarded her ruined wedding dress. With a burst of energy, she jumped, intending to land on the opposite side. However, she hadn't anticipated the slope's slippery surface. Just as she was about to fall into the abyss, her sash caught on a crack in the rock, giving her a moment's reprieve. Quickly, she pulled out her dagger and jammed it into the crack, stopping her descent. She then carefully moved her dagger, inserting it into the crack again and again. Inch by inch, she climbed until, with her last ounce of strength, she reached a level surface. When she reached the glowing stones, she discovered that they were actually fireflies. A sudden idea struck her. She tore off a piece of her garment and collected the fireflies in her sleeve, creating a makeshift lantern. Soon, she found a pool of water and eagerly drank from it, but the taste was so unpleasant she could hardly swallow. Looking up, she saw that the icicles above were dripping into the lake. Without hesitation, she walked into the lake and opened her mouth to catch the water droplets. Just as she was enjoying a moment of peace, a red glow appeared around her. As the red glow grew brighter, a violent flame shot up. In a panic, she hid in a cave that the dragon couldn't reach, once again escaping the dragon's flames. But the dragon let out a roar, and in that moment, she began to subconsciously observe her surroundings. In this cave, she saw that all the names of the previous princesses were carved into the stones. Exhausted, the princess finally succumbed to sleep. In her dream, she saw one of the other princesses who had also hidden in this cave. The princess had drawn a maze-like map on the wall. Upon waking, she felt a stinging sensation on her leg. Pulling back her clothes, she saw that the fireflies were all nibbling at her wound. She sat up immediately and disgustedly removed all the insects. To her surprise, she found that the wound on her leg had healed. To test her theory, she placed the fireflies on her arm. The wound healed at a visible rate. It was almost unbelievable, but now was not the time to think about it. The most important thing was to escape as soon as possible. Following the map on the cave wall and combining it with the path she had already taken, she quickly determined her escape route. She tore off the remaining shreds of her dress and, following the path outlined on the map, soon reached a hidden crystal passage. There, she found a sparkling crown that had apparently been left behind by one of the previous princesses in her hasty escape. This unexpected discovery was like a beacon of hope in the darkness. She carefully tied the crown around her wrists and ankles, and using the connection between the crown and the crystals, she began a difficult but determined climb upwards. After tireless effort, she finally reached the top. Just as she was about to reach the exit, the dragon suddenly appeared, and she slipped. Worse still, the crystal began to shatter under her weight. Quickly, she caught the falling crystal with the crown and continued her climb. Having learned from her previous mistake, she was extra careful this time and eventually made it to the top. When she saw the cave entrance, she was overjoyed. However, her joy quickly turned to despair. She realized that she was standing on a steep mountain peak. It was all over. Could it be that I'm really going to die here? Just as she was feeling utterly hopeless, she unexpectedly saw a passerby in the distance. Gathering all her strength, suddenly, the dragon appeared at the cave entrance without warning. Awakened by the sudden shout, the dragon turned and flew back towards its nest. It turned out that her father had paid people to search for his daughter. As they say, one who takes money owes a favor. Despite knowing the dangers ahead, he could only grit his teeth and continue the search. Meanwhile, the princess, taking advantage of the dragon's absence, used the dim light in her hand to escape through another exit. Upon seeing the crown symbol and the bodies of 3 young dragons on the ground, she realized that everything the queen had said was a lie. It turned out that the queen's ancestor, fearing the dragon as a threat, had cruelly murdered the dragon's 3 newborn cubs.